Welcome to episode 3 of Ask Gordon. It's actually earlier than I had anticipated doing, but on the post that you will read about today, it's important that you know this information. And actually, episode 3 is going to be dedicated to that object question. A lot of you, when I mentioned it, there were a lot of people that wrote the word object on the question, so I'm going to explain what that question is, and hopefully you'll enjoy it. If I only started asking that question 4 or 5 years ago, so some of our clients have been asked that question. Some of the CEOs that I've interviewed have been asked that question, and some of you, if you may recall, at the All School from my hometown, if you attended the All School reunion last year, I actually shared that question there. And by the way, I'm in Ponferrada. This is day 22 of my walk. It was a tough day, but I'll explain that more on on my post tonight. But again, I'm still doing great. So the object question goes like this. And by the way, here in Ponferrada, so behind me, this is actually the Knights Templar. I guess this is a castle that they built. It's kind of cool. I haven't taken a tour. I got in recently, took a shower, washed my clothes, I'm dead tired, so I probably am not going to worry about a tour, but it's kind of a cool structure. There's a church right behind me. It's not the main cathedral here in Ponferrada. It's kind of behind me further. But that's kind of where I am now on day 22. So the object question goes like this. So I'm going to ask the question, I'm going to pose the question as if you and I had a meeting scheduled. And then, so I'm going to ask the question, and I'm going to tell you the history of that question and how I responded initially, and give you kind of that as some feedback. So the question goes like this, and let's say that you and I had a scheduled meeting right here in Ponferrada, right in this corner, and if I had told you that it was mandatory that you do something before we meet, and what you had to do was bring an object of great personal importance with you, I would want to know what that object was. And by the way, if the object is too big, you would bring a photo of that object. But I want to know what that object is. I want to know the history of that object. I want to know why that's important to you. So that's the question. Now, the easy response, if you're married, have kids, it might be something to say, hey, it's my spouse, it's my kids. And that's irrelevant. Again, if I was married, I would hope that I would say my spouse is certainly the most important person in my life, but I don't know that it's, again, it may not be the object, but maybe my wife gave me something, maybe my kids gave me something, so it could be anything related to that. So don't necessarily just come up with the first thing off the top of your head about a family member, because it may be even deeper than that. So I was actually asked that question once. I was going to a meeting in the San Francisco area of some top financial advisors, and the keynote speaker was going to talk about the power of connection, and the homework assignment that he had given us was to bring an object of great personal importance. Now, again, I grew up on a farm. When I was given that homework, I actually struggled with it because, again, my view is if I lost everything I had, it wouldn't matter. I'm not defined by what I owned, and I didn't have sentimental attachments to things. So I struggled with the question, but the meeting was coming up, so I had to bring something to that meeting. Now, some of you know I'm a big Nebraska football fan, so I ended up bringing a national championship ring. And so some of you may not know this, but one year some player had actually sold his national championship ring. Another gentleman was auctioning it off, so It was a gift to me, so money wasn't an issue, and I basically became the high bidder. So I bought this national championship ring, and that's what I took with me. Now, to be honest with you, I don't even know where that ring is right now. And I knew when I brought that ring, it wasn't an object of great personal importance. But again, I love Nebraska football. I couldn't think of anything else to bring, so that's what I took to this meeting. But again, I loved the question. So even after the meeting, I kept reflecting on that question. And it dawned on me later that the answer to the question is actually a piano. You know, that's the only object that actually brings an emotional response to me. Now, the reason the piano is important is because of how I was raised. I grew up on a farm in Nebraska. I had 4 sisters. My parents required that my sisters take piano lessons, but I never was required. I was always driving tractors, and my sisters worked equally hard. So, but again, Mom and Dad didn't require piano lessons of me, but they did of my sisters. And Mom played the piano. So there'd be many times, you know, you come in the house, Mom might be playing, the sisters would be again playing things that they were learning. So the piano was basically a centerpiece of my home. So on my company's 10-year anniversary in 2004, I decided to buy myself a nice gift, and I bought a Model L Steinway piano. And I started taking lessons on this piano, and I was having a blast. I'd call Mom up periodically, set the phone down, and I'd play tunes, play these simple little tunes that I was learning, and Mom loved it, and I got a lot of joy out of it, out of sharing that with her. 2 years later, as many of you know, my mother passed away. So I quit taking lessons, and I didn't touch the piano again after Mom's death. So for the next 2 years, from 2006 to 2008, I walked by that piano every single time that I came into the house and left the house. And it was always a reminder of, you know, my loss. So in 2008, in the middle of the financial crisis, I finally said, you know, I have to find a home for this piano. It's a beautiful instrument. I love piano music. But I said I have to find a home for this piano. It needs to be in a family's home, or it needs to be in a church or something. So I listed it for sale on eBay. Not on eBay, on Craigslist. And on Craigslist, I put the serial number of this Steinway piano. I put pictures of it. I said, here's the appraised value of the piano. And I also said on my little advertisement that I said, don't negotiate. I said that I would give it away for free to a church before I sell it for a penny less. Hey, I'm a financial guy. The market was tanking. I wanted cash to put into the market. So I was truly hoping it would sell. And I did have 3 families that expressed interest in the piano, but all of them, when push came to shove, basically said they couldn't afford to spending that much money, basically when they felt like the world was about to implode. But I just also had 3 churches that saw my ad, and they said, hey, if you're going to give it away, we'll take it. So and each of the churches kind of justified why they needed it. 2 of them, basically, it was going to be a piece of furniture. And my view is that that piano is too gorgeous to be a piece of furniture. So, and the other church, the 3rd church that responded, told me that basically described their need for it. They actually had a Steinway piano that was over 100 years old. It had a cracked soundboard, and and there were actually 3 different congregations that worshiped in this building. So a Baptist church, a Presbyterian church, and a Hispanic church. So, and the Presbyterian church had a huge music ministry. And when they told me that, it just, I knew in the bottom of my heart that that's where it was meant to be. But I told them I'm still trying to sell it, and I'll let them know. So I contacted them later and said that it's yours. We arranged for delivery. They invited me to a dedication service But I told him, and I told him I would be glad to go, but they couldn't, mention my name. They couldn't point me out, but they could mention my mother's name when they, during this dedication service. So I went, and the music was spectacular. The concert pianists in this church were incredible. The choir members, everybody was simply fantastic in this church. So it was a great, it was a great service. So the choir left the front of the, the church. The pastor got on stage, and he basically pointed out the piano to the congregation. That most of them obviously weren't aware of it. And when he mentioned Mom's name, I was sitting in that pew, and it was probably the most emotional moment of my life. The tears just streamed down my cheeks. That piano to me symbolizes the values that my parents raised me with, and it symbolizes the values of Bernhardt Wealth Management. So that piano to me is basically it kind of represents the core values of me. It represents my mom. It represents my dad. So even though it's no longer my object, if I lost everything else, again, I don't really care. But that piano will always be part of who I am, and part of my heart. So that's the object of great personal importance to me. Now, I love this question. I ask it today when I'm interviewing a CEO. I'll ask it when a prospective client comes in. And what I love about it is that I normally find something that many people don't know. So, for example, if a CEO told if you knew somebody that said that that you didn't know, hey, they have a coffee mug on their desk, but it's just a plain coffee mug. It's a $2 coffee mug. But when he explained why that's important, again, that's you're getting to the heart of who he is, who that he or she is. Another CEO mentioned, for example, that just a simple black rock that was sitting on his desk. Now, how many people took the time to ask about that dumb little rock? Probably very few. Again, every question, every answer that anybody has given is important. I can think of a client's response when she said that she lost her mother at a younger age, and her mother had written some letters to her and given them to her dad. So at certain points in her life, she got these letters from her dad, from her mom. Clearly, when you learn the answer to this question, you basically you learn a lot about the heart of an individual. So if you're married, ask your spouse. You may have a very good idea of what his or her response would be. Ask some of your close friends what that object is, and again, build, like the speaker said. He spoke on connection. He said it's vitamin C, connection. So this question to me, again, does get at the heart of what many people value, what many people believe, what their core values are. And if I understand that, the power of connection is even stronger. So that's the object question. I wanted to share it because on today's post, I actually will be mentioning the piano. So it has to be. So I wanted you to know the object question. And so again, sometime in the coming week, I will do episode 4 and give you an update. And if you have any questions, go ahead and write your questions here or on the last video that I did. And again, I'll respond to those questions. But there's also some other things I know that some of you have may be curious about. So I'll do an update when I do that sometime in the coming 7 days. So again, thank you for your prayers. Thank you for your thoughts. Thank you for liking and commenting on the photos. When I was reflecting today just on again how my body is handling things, and again today was a challenging walk, but it was a great walk nevertheless. And so I'm still extremely thankful for you, for again your thoughts and prayers. I have no doubt that that's one of the things, along with my preparedness, that is making this Camino experience such a rich experience for me. So thank you very much. So this is Gordon Bernhardt reporting from Pamparada on Ask Gordon. So take care, guys, again, and God bless.